everyone, in this video we're going to show you how to make your own pierced ceramic luminary. Now that the shortest day of the year is behind us, it's time to celebrate the promise of longer, brighter days ahead. All the tools and materials that you see in this video are linked in our blog post. For this project, we used Tucker's Bright White Porcelain. It's Tucker's whitest Cone 6 porcelain to give our luminaries the lightest, brightest finish possible. Here we are centering approximately 1.5 pounds of clay on the Speedball Artista pottery wheel. In order to center the clay, your hands should be linked and working together. Look for comfortable and effective ways to brace and control your hands and arms. The upper body is over the clay, and the right hand exerts downward pressure as the left hand presses in towards the clay mass. Alternatively, here you're cupping the hands around the clay and squeezing it inwards. A sponge cleans up the wheel head, and there are many different ways to center clay, but the general idea is that the clay should be centralized before forming continues. Next is the opening of the clay, and while there are many methods of this as well, the idea is that you're creating walls or a donut shape that can later be thinned into taller walls. Now you can see here that the fingertips are dragging along the bottom of the base. Establishing the base is a very important part. The base shouldn't be too thin, where a wire cutter would cut through the base, and it shouldn't be too thick because then it will be too heavy a pot. Compressing the floor with a sponge or your fingertips also helps to prevent any S-cracks that could otherwise occur during the drying process. Once you've created the floor of the pot, the next stage is to lift and stretch the walls. You want to pay attention to how much water you're using. You need some water to lubricate the pot, but you don't want to go overboard and hydrate it too much. The process of throwing is a combination of squeezing inward and outward with both hands. And when you do this, the walls lift and grow. The wheel should be traveling a little more slowly at this stage than before when you were centering the clay. With some practice, you'll only need to pull 2 or 3 times until the cylinder has reached its full height. Now that the walls are even and they're at their full height, we're going to do some cylinder refinements. For our luminaries, we want a nice soft curve. So what we're doing is we're using our left hand to push out and belly out the form as the hands are coming up, and the right hand is on the outside supporting that and keeping it centered. We use a wooden trim knife to scrape excess clay away from the wheel head. Now we're using a red soft Mud Tools rib on the outside to smooth the throwing lines and to finalize that curve. When the pot is finished and ready to be cut off of the wheel head, take a wire cutter and hold it very taut between both hands. Pass it under the base of the pot, pulling it towards you. You can now lift the throwing bat off of the wheel head and allow your piece to dry to a leather-hard state. These Bailey hole cutters are the perfect tools for cutting holes and creating luminaries. They feature hardwood handles and plated metal cutters, and they're inexpensive and a great set for making holes in teapots as well, and they work in any soft leather-hard clay material. As you can see here, we created an evenly spaced and yet random pattern with one of the cutters. We actually created 3 different luminaries in 3 different sizes because there's so many candles out there, we figured we could make a nice little grouping. Here you can see the WYSIWYG touch-up sponges. Now these come on a stick and they're super convenient for cleaning up the holes that we've created. After we cleaned up each hole, With the WYSIWYG touch-up sponge, we went over the entire piece with the Mud Tools finishing sponge in white. The finishing sponge is made of a tight-celled material that won't pull grog or other materials out of the clay body, so it's perfect for fine detail finishing work, and it creates a really nice smooth surface. After cleaning up our work, we allow it to dry completely before bisque firing to cone 04 in a Bailey top loading electric kiln. From Amico's Celadon line, we selected C23 Ice. In order to fill all of the holes, what we did was we dipped the pieces halfway, and then we allowed them to dry, flipped them, and dipped them again. We applied a second layer or coat of glaze using a brush. This glaze is transparent, glossy, and very forgiving. Sponged off the bottom of our pots before firing them in our 7 cubic foot Bailey kiln. This kiln was fired to cone 5 at a medium speed. And here they are, ready to shine. These beautiful handmade pots just brighten up the living space and add a little glow to the winter days. We hope this video inspires you to create your own ceramic luminaries. Remember, at Bailey Pottery Equipment and Ceramic Supplies, we're here for you. Happy making!